Hello, and welcome to A Balanced Approach to Business Growth, or welcome back if you are a returning follower or listener. This is a playlist packed with tips, insights, and strategies to help you grow your business your incredible way. A playlist where I talk about building a business that you enjoy running, that you are in control of, that you are leading, and doing it without the burnout, the overwhelm, the 24-hour hustle culture. To help you simplify your approach, to help ensure that you're focusing on what truly matters, those activities that move the needle in your favour, helping you to make real progress. If we've not met before, my name is Lindsey and I'm a business coach who is passionate. I know it's overused, but I am passionate about helping ambitious business owners bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Now, today I want to talk about something perhaps a little different, something that I think is often misunderstood when you run your own business, whether you are a solopreneur, have a small team of 2 to 3, or are growing by the minute and are at that 10 employee mark, or even more. It doesn't matter the size of your business. From a turnover point of view, from a staffing point of view, from offers and services, this applies to you. And it's me time. Stay with me here. Because I think this is really misunderstood. Because sometimes that me time that everyone talks about, it's not going on a yoga retreat. It's not getting up at 5 a.m. and running, which, by the way, for me to do, I'd have to get out really early to do all the other things first, to have the run, to come back, to get ready, to get the kids to school. It just wouldn't work for me. And maybe that's the same for you. Sometimes that me time that everyone talks about is nothing more, or rather as simple as grabbing a cuppa and sitting in the conservatory. It's laughing around the dinner table with your family. And that's enough. But why does me time matter? And I'll come back to this. What could me time look like for you in a minute? But first, let's talk about why it's so important. If you're always on, it's easy to get stuck in solving problems by pushing through. At the beginning, in my introduction, I talked about the pushing, the overwhelm, the hustle culture. So when you're always on, always thinking about the business, but from that place of, I've got to do this, this has got to happen, thinking about the things you should be doing, you can fall into a trap of adding even more to your list. Because 3 priorities, 4 tasks won't feel like enough. And I say 3 priorities because that's what I have on my daily list, 3 priorities. But when you're stuck in that place of trying to fix problems from a place of pushing, I promise you, and I'm going to take a wild guess that you've done this. We add just more stuff to our list. We create even more overwhelm. We squeeze even more out of the time that we have. And we can fall into that trap of being busy for busy sake. Because stopping, getting off that busy, the hamster wheel, can almost feel like you're failing. But often it's because we're chasing somebody else's dream. But perhaps that's for another time. So when you're busy, when you're adding more to your list, when you're pushing through, when you're constantly on, decisions feel harder. And you start to second guess everything. So you'll make a decision and now you're talking yourself out of the decision. Now you're making another decision, but you've talked yourself out of that one. So you go back to the first one. It's a spiral that can get out of hand really, really quickly. You might find yourself saying yes to everything, even things that you don't want to do. We all joke, don't we? If you want something done, ask a busy person. And I've been that person when I'm really busy, but I'll find time for that. So we find ourselves in that place where we can't stop the spiral. We can't stop the merry-go-round that we're on, the hamster wheel. Use any analogy you like. And we just keep saying yes to everything. And that constant, it all just gets louder, it gets more frustrating, and you can get to that point where you can burn out. But what if you fall out of love with your business and the things that you do? So, what I want you to know, and this is no secret, real breakthroughs, great decisions, ideas, most often come to us when we're away from our desk. You've heard it before, haven't you? I had this great idea when I was in the shower. I had this great idea when I was out walking the dog. It's taking that time out that is so important, not only for you to rest, recharge, to switch off, but also your business benefits because you're creating space. Space that creates or sparks rather creativity, clarity, and awesome decisions. So I want you to know, if you take nothing else away, although I do hope you'll keep watching, stepping back isn't lazy. Taking a moment to reflect and regroup and reprioritize is not lazy. Deciding to get off the busy wheel isn't lazy. It's smart leadership. So why did I want to talk about this? This me time, because that's where I started and I need to come back to that. The other day, my beautician asked me, so what do you do for your me time? What does me time look like for you? And honestly, I absolutely froze. I thought, me time? Are you joking? I don't have any. Between the business, two teenagers, an 82-year-old mum, and a husband that, is recovering from a hip replacement, there is no time. What? And but it stayed with me. Now she told me that her me time is Pilates and yoga. And for a split second, and actually it was much longer than a split second because her question stayed with me after I left. I felt really guilty. Like I was somehow doing it all wrong. So as I walked away and walked back to the car, it was that, oh, I should really start doing park run because, I have registered to do that. I should get up earlier and maybe do some downward dogs. I don't even know what a downward dog looks like in yoga. I was like, oh my goodness, I need to get up earlier and do more meditation. And then I started to feel really sad. And as I say, this conversation really stayed with me. Although it was slightly one-sided because I had nothing to contribute. But what I realised in giving myself that space to consider this, to play with this idea of what me time looks like, I realised that we all have very different lives. To be fair, I didn't realise that. I know that. I bang on about that all the time. Nobody has the same 24 hours. Nobody has the same responsibilities. All our lives are different. Therefore, me time doesn't need to look like someone else's version. It's personal. It's yours. And I think the guilt that I was feeling and dropping into that guilt trap is because we are bombarded with messages, what this me time should look like, what recharging should look like, even from a business perspective, what we need to do for a successful business. If you want 7 figures, you must be getting up at 4 a.m. and journaling by candlelight before the world wakes up and the first bird tweets. It's everywhere, isn't it? The 10-step skincare routine that magically takes 8 minutes on, those reels, but in real life takes at least 40 minutes and, doesn't make you look 10 years younger. I've tried. It's about, they talk, don't they, about, going to the coffee shop and having a mocha latte, something with oat milk, doing something healthier, reading a book. Even I've told you to go outside and read a book before. But I think what was really coming for me is how much we are consuming that tells us what our me time, or not, so much that we're consuming that leaves us thinking that what we're doing isn't enough, that I really should be going on a silent retreat where you find yourself without a phone signal. How would my children get more money in their bank accounts if I didn't have a phone signal? How would I be able to track where they are and keep them safe? Madness. I know people do these things. I am not judging any of these things. And for some, it might be exactly what they need. It might be bubble baths surrounded by crystals and eucalyptus with no kids banging on the door. It could be any of those things. And if you do any of those things, I'm not saying they're wrong. If you are doing them in a way that it adds value to your life, to your business, if you're doing them because you've created space in a way that it's become part of what you do, that is awesome. But for some of us, a silent retreat A yoga retreat for 4 days. Who was I kidding myself when I thought that might be possible? Doing something without your phone, it's not possible for all of us because your me time doesn't need to be curated. It doesn't need to be fed by the me time of somebody else, the version from someone else, or complicated. If it nourishes you, even for 5 minutes, it counts. And that's the realization that I came to when I was thinking about my own me time and I was working my way out of the guilt I was feeling because I didn't want to go on a silent retreat. I'm joking here. I'm joking. No, well, I'm not joking about the reason I was sitting with it and I was exploring it, but because I know people like silent retreats, love yoga retreats, and in years to come, maybe I might do a yoga retreat. It's still on the list. But what I came back to, let me get back on track. What I came back to was it's really important that we define me time for ourselves. Because if it becomes or is about just ticking something off a list because you should do it, that's not me time. That's not creating space. If I decided that I absolutely had to do yoga and I've got to join a class and I've got to get there, that is not a good energy for going and doing that thing to create me time. Doesn't make any sense. So if you are doing things for me time, and you feel any resistance to it, just check in. Are you doing it because you should be doing it? Are you doing it because it's adding value, because it's making a difference, because it's giving you that breathing space that you need? It's absolutely about respecting your energy, not performing because that's what someone told you to do on a social media platform, or because you've read that we all have to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and do 25 press ups. It's not about that. Your energy, your me time. It's about permitting yourself to rest without having to earn it first. And I think when I was evaluating where I was and looking at that sort of guilt that I walked away holding when I left my beautician, it was also about, well, have I earned a silent yoga retreat? Oh, Christ. Now I'm adding the two things together. Okay, so really think about what me time means to you, what it is for you, not what it is for somebody else. And if you're doing things to tick them off, if you're doing the things to say, I've done these things, are you doing them for the right reasons? Are you doing them for you or for somebody else? Now, I want to give you some tips because I love giving you a few tips, don't I, for embracing guilt-free me time. So first of all, start noticing the little pockets of me time. The chat you had with your partner over breakfast, perhaps. That's real connection. That is me time. Perhaps sitting in the car when as a family you're just chatting about things and having conversations about all sorts of different things that you wouldn't do in the house. Maybe it's when your mum pops round and says, don't stop working because I know you're busy, and you just take the time to sit and have a coffee and see how her day is going. Absolutely drop the comparison. I think I've got that message through already, hopefully. Your version doesn't have to look like anyone else's, and absolutely should not. And celebrate those pockets. That quiet cup of tea, it counts. That deep breath in as you might be standing in a queue in the supermarket. That breath and that moment you take before walking out the door. Don't miss those quiet moments, those pockets, because you are not a machine. So if getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning is not for you, do not do it. And remember, rest is not a reward for finishing your work. It's part of sustaining who you are, who you want to be, and being the very best that you can be for your clients and your business. So I want to leave you with a thought or a question. I know, I always give you a question. Where can you claim more space for yourself without guilt? So where can you claim more space for yourself without guilt? Perhaps if you struggle with that one, another one is to say, where am I already claiming space? those quiet moments, that, you know, even hanging out the washing. I know it's mundane. I know we've got to do it. Even hanging out the washing and doing it while listening to the birds, feeling the wind on your face, that mindful moment. You're probably enjoying some incredible me time moments, pockets of joy, but you're just not recognizing or not making the most of them. Your business doesn't need you to work hard all the time. It needs you in your full incredibleness, with all your energy, with all your, in my case, craziness. It needs your whole self, rested, recharged, and reconnected to what matters. So if it's been a while since you've had any me time, that's not a failure. Now, that's a really big message I want to get across, because I felt like a failure when I was questioned about my me time, and it is not a failure. What I then went through that process of doing is looking at the pockets of me time that I actually did have, and it made me appreciate them even more. So if it's been a while since you feel like you've had any real me time, so that, yeah, you might get your nails done, something like that. Gentlemen, you might go and have a facial. Why not, gentlemen? Please remember, it's not a failure. It might be a flag, and not in a red kind of bull chasing kind of red flag way, just as a gentle nudge to come back to yourself and look after yourself, because you, from a business perspective, are the greatest asset to your business. You are most likely and also the greatest asset to those around you, your family, your friends, and your loved ones. And you cannot be there for everyone if you are not putting yourself first. So, what's one small thing you do or could do that fills your cup? And it might be quite literally. Drop it in the comments. I would love to know. And of course, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. I always do a little happy dance when I get a new subscriber. Yes, I really do. Happy dances for myself and always for my clients when we need to celebrate. Perhaps this video in particular has resonated and you know someone that needs to hear this message. Feel free to tag them or to share it with them. There are no calls to action today. I'm not asking you to book a call with me, download a workbook or anything. Today, instead, I want you to do one small thing for yourself, even if it's just sitting with a cup of coffee in the conservatory, which is what I might go and do right now. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.